Alright gentlemen, we're back. It's been about 24 hours now, and we're just going to check it on our solution and see how it's doing. And our aeration for our air bubbler is still going there. And on the left I have my next batch that I'm fixing the vacuum filter to get ready. There's about 10 pounds in that 5-gallon pot right there. But over here to our silver that we have precipitating, if you look on top right here, you can see the top of the copper bar, and you can see the silver crystals as it's building up on top of it. Now let's take a squirt bottle here and wash it off, and this will give us an idea of how much silver we have in solution according to how quick it precipitates back on it. Now it's not a perfect science, but with time and watching these processes, you can judge about where you're at in the process by how quick it's going from key indicators that you can pick up with your eyes. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and squirt this off so we can see just how quick it builds back up. And as you can see, it's coating the surface of the copper bar again as we wash it away, which tells us our sedimentation process is still occurring. Now we're only 24 hours through it. We still like about 48 hours total, so we got about another 24 hours to go before this process here is complete. Once this is complete, I'll pull a sample out, dilute it about 50% with water, and add a couple of pieces of table salt, and if I get any silver chlorides formed, then I know the process needs to continue a little longer. And let's wash it off again. And you can see the clean copper underneath it for just a second before it oxidizes and the silver starts to precipitate on it again. But as you can see, we still have a fairly large amount of concentration of silver in the solution as quick as it's recoating that bar. And if you'll notice, you can see some big old chunks of silver floating around there that's breaking off of the bar. And that's one reason why we're going to take this paddle mixer to bust this up before we try to filter it, so it'll all settle level in the bottom of the bucket and we can draw more solution off. Plus it'll be easier to clean in the Buckner funnel. There's still a lot of silver going on in there. Well, I'll go ahead and cut away now, and we'll check back in periodically and see how our silver is doing. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and we're back. It's been about 48 hours now, and what we're going to do is we're going to check our nitrate solution to make sure all of our silver is dropped out of solution. And the way that we're going to do that is I have a test tube here. And in this test tube, all I've done is put a little bit of water, and I've added a few grains of salt. Now you could use bleach for this, hydrochloric acid, anything that has a chloride in it. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to get a couple of drops of this out of this bucket with a pipette. I'm going to drop it down in here, and if we see any silver chlorides form, we know that our solution hasn't finished dropping its silver yet. But during the time off camera, I come back, I've already eaten up one copper bar, and I clipped another copper bar on here. So let's go ahead and get this bubbler out right here. And I've just got another bucket over here that I set things over in. And we'll set that test tube right in there. And let me zoom in a little bit here. And let me get my pipette. And we're just going to reach down in the solution. And we're going to draw us up a sample is what we're going to do. And we're going to drop a couple of drops in the top of this test tube right here and see if we get a reaction. and I'll just drop it all in there then. Good deal. Alright, and as you can see, we had no chlorides for them. It just diluted. So basically all we got in that solution right now is just copper. There's don't even appear to be some residual silver left over. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and take a look at our copper bar here, and I can show you that. And that's the new copper bar that I put in after the old one was eaten up, and it doesn't appear to consume very much of it. Now I've only got one hand here, but normally I would just take a squirt bottle and rinse it off in here with the rest of it. But I have a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm just going to lean it in it like the other bucket was. And now my trusty drill, and we're going to break these crystals up, number one, so they'll settle more compact in the bottom of the bucket, so when we start to draw some of the solution off, we can get more of the solution off. And number two, they'll clean up a lot better in the Buckner funnel. So all we want to do is just stick our stir down in there, and you have to be careful or you'll make a mess of this thing. But as you can see, our silver stirring around. And we just want to stir that and break them crystals up real good. And we want to do that probably for about a minute. Make sure you go around the bottom of the bucket so there's none settled on the edges with your bit. And chop it off all real fine. And you can see the silver settles back down pretty quick. And what I'll do is I'll take my squirt bottle and I'll wash the crystals off the end of that stir stick. But you can see some crystals that have lapped up and they're on the side of the bucket right here. And we've still got some fine crystals floating around in the solution there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this solution about 24 hours to settle. Don't you always like how that phone starts ringing? I'm going to give this solution about 24 hours to settle, and then we're going to come in and decant the top of the solution off. That way when I get ready to put it in my Buckner funnel, I don't have a lot of solution that I have to run through my Buckner funnel. I just have a little bit that's trapped in the crystals. So what I'll probably do now is give this 24 hours, and you don't have to give it 24 hours, but the way my schedule is, the 24-hour thing seems to work out better for me. You could probably let this settle a good 4 or 5 hours and you could decant it off, but I always give it 24 hours. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to cut away and we're going to give this 24 hours, and I'm going to come back and set up my vacuum filtration jug that I showed you earlier, and we're going to draw this liquid off and see if we can get to some silver in the bottom of this bucket. So I'll see you gentlemen again in 24 hours. Good morning, gentlemen. We're back, and it's been about 12 hours and our silver is settled out now, so we're going to try to draw some of this used nitrate solution off the top of our silver and get to the bottom so we can go ahead and start cleaning it up in a Buckner funnel. Now what I have here in front of me again is a few of the items that we're going to be using. Over here on the left, I have a bucket of silver that I haven't cemented yet that I'm working on getting ready. And for it, I use this little vacuum flask right here. And it's set up just like our big one over here on our wine bottle is. And all it does is it draws solution out of here up into our flask right here. And the reason I do this is so I don't have to disturb this. This is dental pellets that I've been running, which is about 70% silver, and they're pressed pellets, and it has some sort of binder in there. It's what they mix up to put in your teeth at the dentist. So all that stuff is settled in the bottom. If I move this bucket, it'll stir it up, and it'll clog your filters and take forever to filter. So I use this just to draw the top of the solution off all the way down to the bottom. So the first part of this solution filters like a snap. Now that when I get to the bottom is going to be kind of difficult. Now back over here again, we have, like I explained in our previous video, a wine bottle or a water bottle, and on the end of it, it has a piece of Pyrex tubing. And now that everything's settled in the bottom of our bucket, all we're going to do is insert this and draw the used solution off into our wine bottle here for disposal. Now this is our 2x4 that we used earlier. Well, this comes in handy in this situation too, because what we could do is we could just set that 2x4 across the top of there, and we could take our piece of Pyrex tubing. And I already have vacuum on this line right here. This line here runs outside to a vacuum pump, just like the type they use for HVAC. You can pick them up off of eBay for $65. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this piece of tubing and we're just going to drop it down in there. And as you can see, our solution has already started to become drawn off. And as you can see, we have a nice little steady stream in the top right there. You can hear it hitting the bottom of the bottle, and it'll just work to draw this off. And we can look at our piece of Pyrex tubing and see that the liquid coming through the tubing is clear, so we know we haven't gotten to our silver yet. Remember, our silver is built up on the bottom of this bucket. If we shove that tube all the way down to the bucket, we're going to be drawing our silver off into our waste container and losing money. So we just want to take our time and just draw this solution down slowly. And while we're waiting on that, on my smaller flask here, I have an air control, and that's off an aquarium pump to adjust the volume of air to the bubbler inside of the aquarium. And what I do is when I hook my vacuum up on this side, I'm able to control my vacuum, because this flask, if I put a full vacuum on it, that stuff will just splash and jump everywhere. You just want a steady suction to this. And over here, it looks like we've hit our first benchmark. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove the 2x4. And then we're going to take this and we're going to do it by hand. And as you can see, the solution going through our tube is still clear. And you just want to stick it down in just right at the top of it. You don't have to jab this thing down in there. You want to be able to see what you're doing. You want to know when you get down to the level of silver. And as you can see, we're still drawing off over here into our waste container. And later on, we'll pour that out. And usually it takes me about 5 or 10 minutes to decant a bucket like this with this vacuum. And it's mainly because I go slow. I'm not in any hurry to lose any of my silver. And a lot of times you'll see a skim on top of this water right here. There'll be bugs that land in this. There'll be all kinds of trash that just falls at the top. And after we draw this liquid off here and we clean our silver up in our buckner, we're going to melt it. So we don't want a lot of this organic trash in here. If we can help it, we'll just draw that off to the top with our vacuum. And looking at our Pyrex tube, we can still see that we have clear solution going through it. And we're getting pretty low toward the bottom now. We ought to be able to start seeing some silver here in just a minute. We're probably about half full by now. But by chopping it up with a mixer like I did, it helps it to settle out instead of being fluffy in the bottom of that bucket, filling the bucket way towards the top. You chop it up and them individual grains will lay out in the bottom of that bucket good. Be more compact. As you can see, our waste disposal bottle over here is about half full. And we're about a third of the way full on the bucket now. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a white shadow there. And that is silver coming up. And you can see the top of the solution there. We're getting close to the silver. You can see it starting to break through. Now, usually what I do at this point, I'm kind of one-handed right now. I'll take and I'll tilt this bucket up and get this stuff down in the corner. Stir it up like I just did. But I'll usually tilt this bucket to the side now, and you can see all that silver laying in the bottom. What I'll do at that point, since I stirred this up, but I'm one-handed again, you'll go ahead and have this sitting on the block beforehand, tilt it to the side like this. I'll let this settle again and finish drawing it off later. But let's reach down in here, and you can see what we have is cemented silver. Nice, pretty clean cemented silver. And that ought to clean up real well in our Buckner funnel. Another shot. Nice pretty crystals. Smear a little bit on the side of the bucket there. Take the spoon here. And as you can see, all of our waste solution over here is in a wine bottle ready to be poured off in a 5-gallon bucket and treated for waste disposal. So I guess I've about showed you every little trick or tip as to how to run large volumes like this. You could run 10-15 pounds like this at any given time. So I'm going to go ahead and cut away now, gentlemen. Now, I do have some other videos as time dictates. As everyone knows, I'm a refiner and a consultant, so I barely have time to shoot these videos anymore. But I have another scientific experiment where I'm going to build a fissure cell. And a fissure cell is used for dissolving gold. And any of y'all that have purchased products from Shore, you'll know about the Shore cell that they sell for like $500–600 that you can refine karat jewelry in. Well, I'm going to do a scientific experiment, build a small cell to show y'all how that principle works, and I've got a few other things that I'm going to film small videos on also. So, until the next time I see you, gentlemen, take care.